This is Midday with me, Jason Dacey, sitting in this week for Howie Lim. A career is often defined as an individual's metaphorical journey through learning, work, and other aspects of life. So it's not just work with which we've come to associate our careers. It also encompasses continuous learning. On Career 360 on Money FM, we're speaking to Anji Hallewell, a transformational coach. Anji has spent over a decade of her career finding and nurturing the best talent to endure and ensure business growth. As a former business partner at TV Empire Fox Networks Group, she was responsible for talent standards across 26 countries. Today, she's also a trainer with a unique ability to elevate professional and personal frequency. Anji, welcome to Midday.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So tell me about what you do exactly.
What is this mystical thing?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Doesn't it just? Well, I guess essentially, as I've worked in talent for many years, and really what I discovered is that it's less about knowledge. It's less about what you know, and it's more about how you behave. Really, it's about understanding your own behavior and finding that zone where you really thrive. So that's the bit that I'm unlocking. That's the bit that I concentrate on.
Oh, how wonderful. I definitely am interested in what you've got to say. So what are people doing wrong, first off, that makes them blend in and not stand out? Because we all feel we're special. We've all got a unique thing to give.
Yeah, we are. We're all very unique, and there's a lot of traits that we have that are very going to propel you further in life. But there is something ingrained in the human psyche that is a little bit out of date. You know, this is going back to the times where we had to survive and we had to stay in herds. We had a pack mentality. If you stepped outside of that herd, you might be taken by something. You know, you're going back to prehistoric times.
And when I played rugby as well.
Yeah, possibly some modern day situations as well. But really, there is no danger of us stepping out of that herd mentality anymore. In fact, you need to do that to elevate yourself. So we need to rewire something that is quite ingrained in the way that we think and the behavior that we exhibit.
Yes, very, very true. I've been working almost 40 years, and I know that there are things in there that are wired not the right way, and I'm trying to change them. So how do we change them?
Yeah, well, the good news is they can be changed.
Right.
Everyone's sigh of relief that is listening.
Yes.
We can change behavior. We know through neuroscience that the brain is like plastic, and we can remold it in a way that is beneficial to us.
So what are some steps that we can start to change the way that we think and the way we perceive ourselves so we can achieve greater things in the workplace?
Yes, yeah, it is about perception. It absolutely is about perception. And one of the main things that people can start doing straight away is to adapt a positive way of thinking, adapt a positive attitude.
Easier said than done, though, isn't it?
Wow, it's hard if you make it hard. Is what my response would be to that. You know, if you are somebody that isn't naturally a very positive person, just look at the outcomes that creates. And no doubt there's going to be things that you're thinking, actually, I feel like I'm responsible for some of this.
Yes.
But actually, if you reframe the way that you see something, and you can elevate your thinking to a different perspective.
That's true. There's many ways to look at any situation, right? And what can seem to be like a negative situation can actually be an amazing blessing in disguise.
Yes, we tend to focus on, it's called black and white thinking, it's dichotomous thinking. We tend to focus on one extreme or the other in a situation.
Yes.
And usually it's the negative.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You know, glass half empty, glass half full is the old cliche, but it's very true, isn't it?
Yes, but the glass can be refilled. This is what we're missing.
Okay, what kind of industries is it most prevalent to see, people not really standing out, not excelling? You know, what areas?
Do you know, I don't know if it's necessarily an industry thing. I think it's a people thing because it's behavior. There might be certain industries where it's easier to be able to show your personality and start to flourish.
Yeah.
I've spent many years in the media industry, as you know, and it's a very sociable industry.
Yes.
And part of what really allows people to step out of that comfort zone and step away from that herd mentality so that they can stand out and show themselves in their best light is the social ability. To be very aware of how they are in social situations, how they're behaving, how they're relating to people. It's this more emotional intelligence side.
We're speaking to Anji Hallewell, transformational coach and trainer. You know, what you say is 100% right. I have an 8-year-old daughter, and she's not the best at school. She's not the most academic kid I've ever seen, but she's extremely social. And I know that these social skills will stand her in good stead no matter what she does. People like her. People are attracted to her. She's charismatic.
Exactly.
And these kind of people we see doing well in work life.
Yes. There was a study done in the 1980s, and it still stands today. No one's proved anything different. And essentially what came out of this study is that 15%, and they say they were being generous with this 15%, of your success in your career and in life was related to your knowledge.
Only 15.
Only 15, and they said they were being generous. So
Only 15%.
I know. We've wasted all these years going to school and college and university to learn all this knowledge, and it's just been wiped out in one survey. And the remainder of the percentage, because people are probably thinking, well, what's the other part? What's the big piece of the pie? And that was emotional intelligence.
Right.
The way that we relate to people, our social skills, being able to keep our own emotions in check so they don't override our thinking and cloud our better judgment.
Wow. Look, you're from the UK, you're from outside London, Buckinghamshire. I'm from Australia, so we're foreigners here in Singapore, so we can in a way stand out, and we're very confident socially probably, and we've both worked in media. But what about reticent Asians? How can they get past that I mustn't brag mentality and start standing up for themselves? Because I think a lot of Singaporeans would say, if my social skills were better, I'd probably be further along the career tree.
Yeah. So in Asia there is a very strong belief that knowledge is what gets you ahead.
And it's only 15%.
And it's only 15%. And they're being generous.
Yes, yeah.
So there has to be a change in perspective, a switch in mindset about the approach to your own personal development, because it's not so much about what you know. So start to become a bit more comfortable about stepping outside of that comfort zone, because the moment that you find your own zone that you can thrive in, where your strengths are, where you make better decisions, where you feel like you're more in control of yourself, of your career path, the more confidence and momentum you're gonna get when it comes to increasing your own emotional intelligence and standing out. It's not going to feel so alien.
Yes.
But you've got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Any kind of practical tips that someone that feels that they're completely a socially inept person, and I know plenty of those people, and you probably do as well. How can they take those first steps to? They're great, they've got the knowledge and they've got the skills and the background, but they just aren't getting the opportunities in the workplace because of these problems they've got.
Yeah. Well, there's two things that I would suggest that could be quite easy for anyone to go and do, right now.
Okay.
Sign up to some networking events.
Right.
There's nothing like networking to throw you into a situation where you have to step away from that comfort zone.
Yes.
You can't stand in the shadows.
No, there's nowhere to hide, right?
There's nowhere to hide, right? So networking can really help bring out those more social skills and be able to connect with people. I would also suggest that actually you can take a little step outside of your comfort zone, even in your own workplace. Start to speak to people that are more senior than you. Maybe you could ask them informally to be some kind of mentor to you.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you just say, listen, I really admire what you've done, and do you mind if I speak to you occasionally and catch up and share my career goals?
Exactly. It doesn't have to be anything too intense or anything too formal. And of course, when you are in a more senior position, it's far more about how well connected you are to people and how you can drive work through others and how you can motivate others. So for you to elevate yourself to that next level, you need to work with someone that's already doing it.
Right. What about beating your own drum or blowing your own trumpet? Some people have accused me of doing that, but being a TV presenter and radio host, it's something that we naturally do, right?
Yeah.
But not everyone is like that.
No.
Do you think it's self-promoting if you start sort of telling people, hey, listen, this is what I've done? Or I guess you got to get the balance right.
There's a difference between bragging and there's a difference between showcasing.
Right. What is the difference?
I thought I could just leave it at that.
No, I'll put you on the spot here.
Well, bragging, you can be very arrogant. Excuse me. You can come across as very arrogant.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen when you listen to that, you're going to shut down. The mind is going to shut down. So if you're sitting there bragging about all your achievements, how amazing you are.
And just transmitting, not receiving, right?
Me, right? You're into a me territory. But if you are just highlighting to your manager or to some senior stakeholders as to what has gone well with something that you have been running,
Yeah.
you don't have to take full ownership for it. It could be you and your team. But who else is going to beat that drum? Who else is going to promote you?
No one else will do it, right?
Exactly. So we need champions. You need your champions around you to support you. And the more that they know about the good work that you have been doing, the easier it is for them to be your champions.
Speaking to Anji Hallewell, the transformational coach and trainer, you know, one thing I've done sometimes, I felt maybe a manager or someone in the office has had a certain mindset about me, which I think is not accurate. And sometimes I've tried to plant surprising things there, and it's changed their mindset. You know, they didn't realize, oh wow. And it's not a bragging thing, but it might be, oh, did you know I hiked Mount Kinabalu last year with you know, and you know, whatever 14,000 feet, whatever it is. So things like that. Is that a good idea to try and change the mindset of people around you as you try and, you know, build up your social skills?
Exactly. When we meet people, we make our assumptions about them, and we can only make our assumptions about them on the information that we know about them.
Right.
So actually humanizing yourself and being able to share other achievements and things about your character that you're proud about and bringing them into conversation rather than bragging.
Yes.
It's a great way to be able to, I guess, connect with somebody and be able to change that perception.
Yeah. Have you done that yourself? Changed the perception of someone, you know, just by planting something?
Yeah, there's always reframing that needs to happen. I guess when you become a bit more aware of what is happening socially, you start to see it from the other person's perspective.
Yes.
Right now, this person is seeing me a certain way, and I really don't want them to. So I need to drop something in here that's going to just switch things and loosen things up a little bit.
What about taking someone aside and sitting them down if you feel that there's not the good rapport there? Is that too confrontational?
Yeah, the moment that you take somebody and they feel like they're on the back foot, you're in danger of getting a very reactive and defensive response.
That, right?
Yeah. But if you do it in a more casual way, maybe you just take them out for lunch because you just want to get to know them a little bit. And then when it's eased up a little bit, it's like when you go on a date, right? You don't just jump straight in and go, hey, do you want to marry me, right? You need to go on a dating period to see if you like each other, get to know each other a little bit. Yeah. And so it's the same thing. Yeah. You know, warm them up a little bit before you want to have, I guess, a more deep and meaningful conversation because they're being a better place.
It's hard, though, if some relation you've got is soured with someone and then you feel like there's that, and someone asks you out to lunch, the last thing you want to do is go out to lunch with them. Maybe coffee, right?
Yeah. Start with something. Find what they like and suggest that they do that with you.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there where you said about finding out what the person likes, because by showing the care that you know, let's say you love rugby or whatever. I mentioned rugby already. Let's say hockey, you know, and I find out that you love hockey, and I try and say, hey, there's a big hockey tournament coming up. That shows care, doesn't it?
Exactly. There was a guy that I used to work with who actually wasn't the best person in the skill set that he did, but he was amazing at building relationships, and he did this very well. He would remember a conversation that I had with him last week, and he'd say, hey, how was that event that you went to? How was this? How was that? It's like, wow, you remembered.
Yeah.
Well done for remembering. And it just really opened things up.
That's true. And we all don't like the colleague who says, let's say you say, I went to Indonesia, or I went to Bali last week on a holiday. How was your holiday in Bali? And you sort of start answering, and then they say, oh, look, I was in Bali, and then they talk for about 10 minutes about their trip to Bali, right? Yeah,
exactly. It's got to be a two-way thing. Conversation is two-way. Yeah. It can't be one way.
No, it has to be a two-way thing. So how do we find out more about what you're doing, Anji, and you know, where you're speaking and that kind of stuff?
So there's an event that I'm speaking at called Ideas and Inspirations on the 16th of October at the Long Life Learning Centre.
Yes.
In Playa La Bar.
Yes.
And I'm going to be talking about emotional intelligence.
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent.
So if that's something that people are interested in knowing more about, they should get themselves along.
Isn't it amazing? Emotional intelligence and artificial intelligence both becoming so important.
Yeah. Two very different things, right? Yeah, but yes, these intelligence are cropping up.
Exactly. Well, look, Anji, thank you so much for being our guest here on Midday. We've been speaking to Anji Hallewell, transformational coach and trainer, about trying to get ahead in the right way in the workplace, showing some emotional intelligence. Thank you.
Thank you.